Incremental routines. So we are in the introduction of SuperMemo. We still haven't covered actually SuperMemo in the course. But before that, let me answer this question. Is there an alternative to SuperMemo? So if you want to use incremental routing, could you use a different software? The short answer is that no. There's no equivalent. Reason is because SuperMemo unique fusion of space repetition and incremental routing remains unmatched by other systems in its depth and flexibility. So usually they add some of the principles, something like that, or it's one-man job. Some random SuperMemo users who on their side, on their free time, they develop their own incremental reading app for themselves, but usually it's very unfriendly because it's just programming. It's a command line with no interface. Everything is by key bindings. It's kind of obscure. So an app that exists out there, still no. Others exist, but none truly replicates the entire SuperMemo methodology. We could simplify incremental reading, basically. Then, what's the edge of SuperMemo? The algorithmic sophistication. Perhaps this is not at the same degree now because of FSRS. Still, there's a difference in the long term because FSRS is built on data of Anki users, which happens to be low quality data. Because a lot of Anki users are crammers, don't actually use Anki how it's meant to be used, respecting the intervals, optimizing for the long term. They optimize for short-term deadlines instead. That's a big thing. And second, there are not enough users who have used Anki for, let's say, 15 years, like me, or more, unlike in SuperMemo. So they still lack data of long-term usage. That's why, as an long-term Anki user, FSRS is good for the flashcards I create now, but not for the old flashcards, because the intervals I get, that's the improvement. Or even I get shorter intervals. The big sauce is not the algorithm as before, it's incremental reading. Just this. So forget the algorithm. Meaning that if you want to use SuperMemo only for the algorithm, so you're not going to use incremental reading, don't. Keep using Anki, please. The only reason, incremental reading. And we know that incremental reading is only done by SuperMemo, for now. So the takeaway is that it's not just about flashcards. SuperMemo offers a dynamic reading approach that sets it apart. We will cover what is incremental reading more in depth later on. So there are partial alternatives. So you have Anki, who has the space repetition, but lacks incremental reading system. Yeah, you can have add-ons, or the incremental reading add-on, but it just adds some layers. It's not an incremental reading experience at all. There's like a good heuristic you can use, or I can use. Some people tell me when I ask this question, or I see this question in Reddit, people will say, hey, yes, you can do incremental reading with Anki with this add-on. This is how you can tell that the person doesn't understand the concept of incremental reading. And some other people will say, oh yeah, we have Anki with this add-on, we have this rem node with this add-on, but yeah, it's not the same thing, I cannot use it. Then you can see that this person has understood the concept of incremental reading, more or less. But that's not the point of this video. So yeah, you have Anki with add-ons, not enough. You have RemNode with add-ons, not enough. Or Nemosyn, Quizlet, whatever more mainstream app with space repetition you can get, they only have flashcards. There's no reading. There's no learning. You only have the last process. Once you have done all of the process of learning, you want to remember, and you have the flashcard, and then this flashcard is scheduled. So you have this in the long-term memory. Every time you do the exercise of, oh yeah, what is this fact I want to recall? Oh yes, it's boom. You do the synapses. That's it. Then you have Zettelkasten, Obsidian, stuff like that. Or you have Zettelkasten apps, or perhaps more like Obsidian and like that are personal knowledge management apps that can be used as Zettelkasten, Perhaps it's not how they sell the app, but yeah, it's great for note taking and note linking. But there's perhaps no special petition, could be added through add-ons, but there's no incremental reading. Same thing. So, quote, you can replicate bits of a special petition of SuperMemo's approach with multiple tools, add-ons, and etc., but it won't be as seamless or as comprehensive. There is no app that includes a full-fledged priority queue. They have like categories, buckets, that's it. So with just the priorities, we're already alone with just SuperMemo. And it's the first thing more important. So of the requirements of incremental reading, the most important one are priorities. So this is already neglected, out of the question. There's no decision. You do SuperMemo, you do incremental reading on SuperMemo, or you wait until someone releases an equivalent. Then another question, why people seek alternatives? Why there's people that even though they know that, I want to use this method, but not in SuperMemo. Why this happens? Because of the user interface is very old. It's from 1995. It's very user unfriendly. If you're old enough, like me, that you have experienced the old Windows XP, Windows 98, then it's going back to that thing, which is not something pleasant. But if you are in your 20s or younger, you have never experienced that what is this thing? Learning curve. Why do you seek alternatives? Because, bro, are you telling me I have to invest time, commitment, hours, until first, I don't understand, I don't get it, and not only that, even if I get it, I will still need more time until I see results, because it's in the long term. So people are, no, I want something easier. Let me go to RemNote. Yeah, there's a learning curve, by the way, in RemNote. It's not as easy as Anki or Quizlet, but you hit the ceiling really quick. And the other is the cost on the flat platform. Because SuperMemo is just Windows-centric, only works in Windows. There's no open source, you have to buy the license, unlike Anki or web apps. Like RemNote, you can use the app, but you can just go to the web app with your browser, and it's agnostic to the operating system you're using. So tip, interface frustration can drive users away. But they soon notice the missing incremental reading advantage elsewhere. And that has been true. I know people who were SuperMemo users for 4 years, 3 years, or 2 years. They moved on, or they seek alternatives, but they stick in SuperMemo for a while. They still notice. They have this cognitive dissonance that, hey, what I'm getting as alternative is a half-baked solution, is not enough, but I still move on. And when they move on, they see, oh shoot, now I miss the priorities, I miss this thing that I had before. It's not the same thing. So I'm liberated of the friction of the user interface and all of that, and Windows only, but I have sacrificed some of the flow. There's an alternative, so you are just sacrificing the flow. So for those wanting an alternative, potential strategy. So if you cannot do this course because you cannot keep with SuperMemo, because if it's a deal breaker for you, those are my suggestions. And since I am the niche, I do the tutoring for many years, I know a lot of different cases. So there are people who, I use SuperMemo, but for the incremental reading part until the flashcard. So when I'm going to do the flashcard, I will do it on Anki, or your choice. Some other people I know use RemNote. So any note-taking app or reading software, whatever you want. I also know people who do this without special petition. What? So you use SuperMemo for then just plain text, no flashcards or special petition? Okay. But even though there's a downside that using multiple apps, you cannot replicate SuperMemo. Priority-based reading and scheduling. You're always losing. But if that's your case, it's better a half-baked solution than nothing. So use SuperMemo, this feature and this feature, with something else before don't use SuperMemo at all. Why SuperMemo? Because there's no one else. It has to be SuperMemo for now. Advice: if you want a full SuperMemo experience, incremental reading experience, be prepared for the learning curve. But it pays off in unique ways. It pays off. It's like mortgage. So it's a lot of money up front for a house, for a home, but then it's always yours. Forever. You don't have to pay rent anymore. Same thing. The difference is not that you stop paying. It's that you stop paying, and imagine not that you pay, that you get money. Then, what no alternative really means? No single tool. So you cannot get an incremental reading experience by combining different tools. We know that no tool has that, but not even combining different tools have that. Just with the priority queue. That's it. Tailoring approaches. You can approximate SuperMemo functionality piecemeal, but risk losing the united scheduling benefits. You will lose the interleaving, basically. Macro and micro interleaving, the neural review, all of that. You can patch together partial solutions, but the hallmark synergy is lost. And in a video we have seen, or we will see in this course, is that the SuperMemo user compared to an Anki user or other users, among other things, is the synergy. So one of the highest advantages is being lost because the main feature is being sacrificed, basically. So conclusion, there's a true substitute for now in 2025. You can get partial solutions if you want. Why this matters is because you want to foster high retention rate, but that's not it. This is just spaced repetition. You want flexible reading, a minimized forgetfulness. So I'm scheduling the reading, I'm scheduling the learning. It's not limited to reading. It can be videos, sounds, like podcasts, This has no value, in the sense that it's go to the infinite. So final thought. If you create SuperMemo's unique synergy, you will find a true stand-in. Embrace the challenge for its unmatched payoff. The only reason I use Windows is because of SuperMemo. Yeah, I could use parallels with Mac or whatever. That will increase friction. I want to be native, especially if I do courses and a lot of videos. I want the genuine experience. It's just this. And I have a lot of friction with this, with that I don't like about SuperMemo. But yeah, I use my knowledge without the hotkey and some other stuff to make it less painful. But it's so powerful that it's still justified. I would really like a modern SuperMemo, for sure. And it makes my blood boil. And it boils my blood, knowing that, oh man, this is extremely powerful, yet no one is doing this properly in a modern software. It will be awesome if I have this flow with modern software, so I can have tweets, import tweets seamlessly, or go into Twitter and see, hey, you have this schedule in your collection, this appears, I go to Reddit, same thing, or to any blog. Wow, there are so many possibilities that are not being used. So, take home message. No, there's no alternative. That's why I'm still doing this course in 2025. And if there will be, I will be the first one to jump in. Believe me. So that's all for now. See you incrementally.